but I'd like to welcome everybody to this press briefing. As you know, we've had a case confirmed in New Mexico of New World screwworm. It is a canine, a dog, basically, in Eunice, New Mexico. It was attended to by a veterinarian in Andrews, Texas, which caused a little bit of confusion as to where the dog was from. What we would like to do today is to give you an update on the status of the case in New Mexico and answer any questions. That way, we're not speculating, and we everybody has the same understanding, and so we appreciate everybody joining us today from across the state of New Mexico and maybe in parts of Texas as well. Um, and just to repeat, we have one case, one confirmed case in New Mexico. Um, in a dog in Eunice, New Mexico, and was presented over the weekend to a veterinarian in Andrews, Texas. But we have confirmed through surveillance activity that the dog was, in fact, from Eunice. So with that, I'm going to turn it over to Dr. Sammy Hollick. She's with the New Mexico Livestock Board. She's our state veterinarian, and she can go over some of the other issues, or any of the issues, um, and bring us up to date on where we're at with this case in New World screwworm. So, Dr. Hollick?
Thank you, Secretary Whitty. So as he mentioned, we have the one isolated case that did trace back to Eunice, New Mexico. And we have a team in the area today doing some additional surveillance. And at this point, we've found no additional cases. We will be continuing to do some additional surveillance in the area through the week, inspecting animals and talking with people and distributing outreach materials. And the main thing is to try to determine how this case got there. And that's the goal right now, so that we have a better understanding of what's going on. As I said, no additional cases found so far. I do want to just remind people, encourage people to be vigilant. It's really important to watch your animals, watch for any changes in behavior, any painful behavior, if they go off food or act lethargic. And so that's the information we're getting out right now, is just advising people to monitor their animals closely and to notify us as quickly as possible. Patients that develop infestation of screwworm, if it's caught early, and they can be treated. And the treatment can be very successful if it's caught early enough. If it's left untreated, then certainly it can lead to death in these animals, and so we want to avoid that. I do also want to remind people that this is not contagious. It's not infectious. This is transmitted by the fly only. The fly lays eggs around open wounds and fragile mucous membranes like the eyes and the nose. And it is not transmitted from one person to another, from one animal to another, or person to animal, and vice versa. It can lead to secondary infection from the infestation of parasites, but it does not. It's not transmitted the same way that infectious diseases can be transmitted. It's also not a food safety issue. I think that's really important to remember, that this is not going to impact the safety of our food in any way. And so just want to remind people of that the inspection processes that we have in place for animals before they go to slaughter and at the slaughter plant help to ensure that the food supply will remain safe. And that's all I have at this time. So I'll turn it back to you, Secretary Whitty.
All right, thank you, Dr. Hollick. I want to emphasize that New Mexico was informed of this on, well, basically early Sunday morning, and we had a team in Eunice, and thank you to the New Mexico State University Cooperative Extension Service. We had eyes on the property and visiting with the owner of the pet. and so that we could get a fast turnaround on determining the extent of this. And so I think that's the key, and I want to emphasize the key to success in controlling New World screwworm um, is early reporting and early detection and early treatment. And that'll help New Mexico and the other states in this with this issue. So with that, I'd like to open it up with questions, and I think the easiest way to be would be to put up your hand, and we'll go from there. Um, and uh, my director of public affairs put in the chat screwwormnm.org. That's our one-stop shop for information. So I think the first one was Aaron Montes.
Hello, thank you so much for the availability. Aaron Montes with KTSM in El Paso, Texas. I wanted to ask, so is it your all's understanding that this dog, uh, where exactly do you all suspect that it picked up this parasite? Was it being treated for it in Texas, or was it in Texas and then it started, the owner started seeing some symptoms when they came back?
So as I and Dr. Hollick may want to answer part of this. As I understand it, the dog has been in Eunice, New Mexico at its home location. Was the owner felt that there was a medical issue with the dog and took it to his veterinarian in Andrews, Texas, which is just basically across the state line. So it wasn't a traveling dog. It was a local.
So and I apologize. So is it safe to say then that it may or may not have picked up whatever this parasite in New Mexico?
That is to be determined through our surveillance investigation, and that's why we've got a team doing surveillance around the property to see if there's any other animals in that might have symptoms. So more to come on that. Danielle.
Secretary, everybody, thanks so much. And thanks again, Sammy. Two questions. One, the federal officials did mention a possible travel element to this. And so I wanted to clarify what that might have meant. Was that just the travel over the state line? Two, what's the dog's condition and breed? And three, what's mitigation? What's next steps here on sterile flies or anything else?
So I'll address the first one for sure. The initial reports was that it was a traveling dog that may have come from Mexico. That was reported by the veterinarian. Our more recent surveillance direct discussion with the owner was that was not the case. It was a home. It was basically in Eunice and presented to the veterinarian in Texas because that's the veterinarian that they use. Um, so the surveillance investigation will determine more about why and how. That's the number one thing we're looking for. Uh, the next, and maybe I'll let Dr. Hollick answer the next two. That more with the livestock board.
Yes, and so this was a small breed adult dog, a male, that was presented to the veterinarian in Andrews. And the last report that we have is the dog is still there and is being treated and it is recovering.
And sorry, mitigation. Has there been any discussion about sterile flies or anything else?
Yes, sorry, I forgot the last part of that, Danielle. So we are having discussions with USDA about the next steps. Certainly surveillance is at the top of the list, and mitigation strategies are being discussed. If anything, we will probably focus on ground release chambers so that we can concentrate these flies, if it's indicated, in the particular area where the dog originated, there in Eunice.
Thank you so much.
So in the
Next.
in the chat, there's a question about pet dogs going to Mexico. Do they need an inspection and certificate?
I'll leave that one to Dr. Hollick.
Thank you. We generally, yes, there's always a requirement of some sort, but at this time, we would need to clarify with Mexico what those requirements would be. My understanding from USDA when we had the case in Texas, that Mexico has a nationwide restriction on animal movement. And so if anyone is traveling with their dogs to Mexico, their veterinarian will need to confirm what those requirements are with Mexico.
The KOB TV, I don't know who it is. Their hand gesture is not working, so I'm going to call on them next, and then we will go to the next ones.
Hi, thank you. My name is Monica Logroño. I'm a reporter with KOB4. I know, Dr. Hollick said that there's no food safety issue right now, but if we start to see more cases, have you guys thought about or considered, or is there any worry about the price of beef going up?
So this should not impact the beef supply. This is a very treatable issue, and especially if it's caught early, we don't expect high mortality. Um, there may be some short-term speculative changes, but long-term, that should have zero impact. Okay, I see a question in the deal, but I got to go back to my participants and go a little bit in order. S. Gordon.
Hey, Jeff, this is Sid.
Oh, Sid. Okay.
My question is, so are we going to get more lure traps for detection of the presence of the fly? Are they going to utilize those in that area?
So, Sid, as I understand it, we're having discussions with USDA about the trapping protocol. So I think a lot of that will be determined not based on the surveillance, the additional surveillance that's going on.
Okay, thank you.
Yep. And then Aaron, let's see. Did I get Aaron already?
I had a follow-up question, sir.
Okay. If you don't mind, I'm going to go to the chat and then come back to you, okay?
That's fine.
Okay, I just got to get back to the chat here. From Diego Lopez, Cibola citizen, according to the AVMA, the FDA has issued conditional approvals and emergency use authorizations for drugs and treatments to treat screwworm and various species. Could you outline the preventative insecticides or topical pesticides that are currently available under review for livestock use, and how the state will help ranchers access these products quickly if New World screwworm is found in the herds? I'm going to turn that one over to Dr. Hollick.
So the website that was provided at the beginning is a good resource for the current list of FDA-approved products. We don't have any information about what products are under review. FDA cannot share that information while they are reviewing the products. It's only once they make a determination that that information is released. But there are multiple products approved by FDA at this time. Of course, there was Dectomax was one of the first ones, and then Ivomec, brand name Ivomec, Exalt as a pour-on. There have been some additional products approved that are only available for use through the USDA and the National Veterinary Stockpile. And we can make a request from my office for those products if it is indicated. And so we do have access to those, and then they would be distributed through our office to veterinarians and licensed users for those products. EPA is a little bit different animal altogether, but we have gotten, and help me with the language on it, Jeff, that there was an exception made for Coral. So it does not necessarily have a label approval, but it has an exception for use for screwworm in our state. And I believe there was one other product that got a Section 18 exception, and that's the Kumafos product, which is also available through the National Veterinary Stockpile.
Okay, Aaron, I'm coming back to you, and then we're going to go to KRQE.
Yes, and on the topic of medicines, I mean, I know that, you're speaking to the availability of the kind of medicines that can, attack the parasite. But in terms of cost, I mean, if a particular individual has, livestock or any animals that becomes infected and they can't afford it, I mean, is the state of New Mexico going to help provide any assistance so that they will be able to treat that? I mean, what if there is like an economic hurdle there for the owner?
So, Aaron, as I understand it, if we have a large issue with livestock and we request through the National Veterinary Stockpile, part of that cost will be covered through USDA in the response. But I think more to come on that.
And just last question, if your all's findings do prove that wherever the infection came in and it was in New Mexico, what are some of the next step protocols that happen if you all do find that there is some kind of flies wandering around that in the state?
Yeah. So the Livestock Board has a very defined protocol working with USDA APHIS, and I'll let Dr. Hollick walk you right through the next steps in case there is a severe infestation.
Thank you, Secretary. So yes, if we do determine that there is a breeding population of flies in the area, then we will be looking at establishing what they call an infested zone. And with that comes a series of things. One would be movement restrictions, and that would basically be increased inspections in the area to allow safe movement of animals out of that area. And remember, this affects all warm-blooded animals. So it would be a pretty broad reach for us, of course, to try to be on the ground, but we want to work with folks in the area and have good, clear communication about what is needed to safely and efficiently move animals out of that area if needed. We're very fortunate, I would say, with the location as far as the impact right now to livestock is limited at this point potentially, and so I think it's important for us to work through, as Secretary Whitty mentioned, NMSU Extension and our livestock inspectors to get good, clear guidance out to producers in the area and help them prepare for this process so that when it comes time for them to be able to move their animals, they can do so efficiently.
Thank you.
Okay, KRQE.
Hi, Bella Olage here with KRQE. I just wanted to briefly ask, just, with this now being in New Mexico, when was the last time we saw this in New Mexico? We understand that it was eradicated in around the 60s, but in New Mexico specifically, what was kind of the last interaction that we've seen with this?
Dr. Hollick, do you have a idea on the date?
I don't have the exact date in front of me, but I know it was into the 70s. There were still some incursions that were happening into the 70s along the southern part of the state.
Thank you. And then just for those cattle owners, horse owners, what's sort of the message from you all at this point for those who are worried about this, worried about possibly seeing it spread? What's sort of the message at this point?
Right now the message is early detection and early reporting. The sooner we can determine if we in fact do have New World screwworm in any area of the state, the faster we can bring in the resources, the sterile flies and the veterinary stockpile products to help treat the animals. And in fact, they are found to be have an infestation. But it's early detection and early vigilance. And, our theme on this has always been, be alert, not alarmed, and really pay attention to your animals. And if you suspect something, report it as soon as you can. And that's with livestock, that's with pets. Right now we're dealing with pets. And I think it's really critical that pet owners understand that as well as livestock owners.
All right, thank you.
KOB.
Wait, sorry, I also have two questions. I'm just kind of going off of Bella's question. Just should pet owners and livestock owners be worried right now? For example, we know that this is in Lee County, but should someone across the state be worried in Taos?
Well, we hope that people are not necessarily overly worried. We do want them to be aware. We do want them to be alert. We need reporting done as soon as possible. If you think you've got a suspicion, contact your county agent, contact your veterinarian. We have screwworm kits that we can send to folks and get the samples turned around quickly. Quick early detection is going to be key to getting our arms around this, and I think that's the case. Be alert, not alarmed, but be vigilant in watching what's going on.
Thank you. And I just had a question. I was hoping to see, do you guys have any insight as to how many cases there are in Texas right now? I was trying to look on the USDA's website and it was kind of unclear.
As far as I know, there are only three cases they had four, but one of them was ours. So three cases in Texas that are confirmed.
Thank you.
Suzanne.
Hey, Jeff, thank you. My question is actually a follow-up for you, Dr. Hollick. I'm wondering on the plan that you outlined, is the wildlife and how does that tie into wildlife management and pet management? And the livestock board is really on top of this, but I don't know as much about those other factors.
Yes, Suzanne. So we have been in communication with Department of Wildlife, as their new name is going to be here soon, formerly Game and Fish, and they are aware of the situation. We've also been in communication with Wildlife Services, and so obviously surveillance in wildlife is going to be very important. It can be challenging, but we have been discussing strategies with them, and they have a plan as well. And so we will be in constant contact with them. And that's another part of the outreach that we'll be doing with people in the Eunice area is if they do see any wildlife that are acting abnormally to also report those.
And I just want to add that in New Mexico, all the agencies are walking in lockstep. Department of Health, Department of Wildlife, Department of Agriculture, New Mexico Livestock Board, New Mexico State University Cooperative Extension Service. We have been meeting and planning and training together on this potential for some time. It's really an awesome team that's got a unified effort, and people may wonder why Department of Health. Well, this can impact humans as well, and so having Department of Health right there with us and their ability to notify the medical community to be on the lookout for any of this is very important, because this is any warm-blooded creature, which includes humans as well. So I'm really proud of New Mexico coming together.
Terrific. Thank you so much.
All right. Other questions? Other questions? If there aren't any other questions, I want to thank everybody for joining us. And if you'll give me a show of hands, how many like this format? And if you do like this format, to get one unified answer to all of us, to any of the questions any of you might have. I think as we develop more information, I would be on the lookout for another opportunity to do the same kind of a briefing with the group. Okay, I'm seeing lots of thumbs up. So be on the lookout. Our public affairs team at the Department of Agriculture will be sending out an update for the next one. The standard rule would be give you a set time and a set date. But until we get a little bit more information, I want to make sure we have relevant information for you. So we'll give you a heads up on it, and then we will schedule this and do it again. Thank you, everybody. Have a good day.